Well, hello, welcome back. How is everybody doing? Hope you're enjoying some fresh air. Maybe you on half term? I'm on half term, so I've got my youngest with me. Been outside already, which is really good. I got him to take his shoes and socks off in the park, get some grounding going. Trying to build in some healthy habits. Nice to see you all. Well, today I'm going to be joined by one of our all-time favourite guests. Yeah, the wonderful Kevin Leivers, the award-winning pharmacist who used to work in mainstream big pharma, so knows a lot about medication and all of that. Then switched sides, if you like, went to work for a brilliant naturopathic company in Switzerland, Walida, where he was head of their pharmacology, and then came back to the UK and set up his brilliant British brand called The Naked Pharmacy, using all kinds of natural botanical ingredients that actually have a pharmacological effect. His first one was Saffron Energy. My youngest takes this. Very good for focus, anxiety, sleep, being calm. Very interesting science about saffron, which comes from the little bright orange stamens of the crocus. Well, today we're going to be talking about metabolism. You may have heard talk of things like metabolic health, to do with things like fatty liver, cardiovascular disease, cholesterol control, weight management. Very important. So it's going to be a really fascinating deep dive. So you might want to have pen and paper. Certainly want to have a cup of tea, settle down, and of course we will be able to answer as many questions as we go. But first of all, I am going to add Lainey here from my team. So Lainey is one of my Earle Wellbeing team. So if you have any questions about the magazine or about our website or anything like that, then I'm sure Lainey will be able to hop on and answer. But let's see if we can get Kevin in the house. Instagram, obviously, then you can go to the Naked Pharmacy, which is their account. And they're also very good at answering questions, and you can direct message them. They've got a very good website. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm extremely well, thank you. It's very nice to have you back with us, Kevin.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for inviting me on the show again.
You are just such a joy to talk to because everything that you say is evidence-based. So backed by science, you've got a phenomenal medical background, being a qualified pharmacist. You've got a team of pharmacists who work with you, who I know the customer service is great. But your products are unique. There's nothing else like it, which is why it's so nice to be able to talk directly to you, the founder, and just get such great information.
Yeah, I love sharing this stuff. It's my passion, my lifetime's passion. So, and I mean, I'm interested in the science, but I'm also interested in the observational elements of it as well, and how nature speaks to us and gives us indication in terms of solutions to problems.
Absolutely. Do you want to give us a quick recap of your background? I gave you a little bit in the intro, but I'm sure I didn't say nearly enough.
Yeah, I'm smiling because I have to say almost 35 years in the industry, pharmaceutical industry, obviously qualified pharmacist. My first job was working for the guy that discovered ibuprofen, so pure drug discovery. And after I qualified as a pharmacist, I moved into industry fairly quickly after a year in retail pharmacy and a year experience in hospital pharmacy, which I loved, but it wasn't really where my heart was. I was lucky enough to work for big pharma for a while because I learned a lot from there. I think that there's good and bad with all things, so I take the good away from that. But again, I think there was something missing, and I think Walida was the missing link. When I started with them in the 90s. So I was their chief pharmacist for about 11 years.
Wow.
And then I had a rush of entrepreneurial blood to the head, I think. So felt a little bit too safe, a little bit too much paperwork and not enough kind of pioneering, which is what I love to do. So for 16 years, I had a consultancy, R&D consultancy, called Lotus Health, and that went brilliantly well. I traveled the world, developed products for various companies, did some amazing research into beetroot for blood pressure, broccoli for acne. So that's
Broccoli for acne. I've never
Yes.
heard that. Tell me about that. Is that eating broccoli or taking broccoli
Um,
sprouts or?
I mean, the principle with, if you want foods to work as a medicine, you have to have a high dose and you have to concentrate the bioactives, which is what we specialize in. And the thing about broccoli, there's a component when you digest broccoli that's really good for acne. But the problem is it doesn't live very long. So we had to do some very interesting research work to develop it. So I think probably it's a big subject. So
Sure.
probably a separate conversation, but yeah,
Interesting.
it's very powerful. A broccoli substrate called DIM, and it's better than any prescription drug that I've come across in my working life. So
Ooh,
so
okay.
that.
I've got my notepad. I'm
Sorry,
writing it out. I love these conversations because it just uncovers so much interesting stuff.
I always go off tangent. Sorry about that. So
No, it's good. But it's interesting to just have a reassuring recap of your background because, there are so many supplement companies out there. There's so many people selling us stuff. There's so many people saying, oh, this really works. You should try this. But actually, there's only so much we can take or can afford. And actually, it's drilling down into what really matters, what gives the best value, what's actually going to work for us so that we see and we feel a difference and we improve our well-being. And that's what we're all about here at Earle Wellbeing, is easy ways that work to make us feel and look better.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, we call them health hacks, don't we? It's a sort of modern language of it, but it's really the shortcuts. How do you shortcut to make the biggest impact? And that's really what I'm focused on. I'm not necessarily that interested in general supplementation. I'm not necessarily that interested in, I mean, it's necessary in a targeted way, but I think that most people that come to us will have a broad range of products that perhaps aren't necessary. So we tend to focus on condition and finding a solution for that condition based on clinical trials in humans.
Yeah.
So that's really important. So every product, including the saffron you mentioned, is based out of human research, randomized controlled trials with a placebo. So it's not working as a dummy pill, if you like. The psychological effects, it's important. And this latest product, Metabolic Gold, is part of that kind of process. And metabolism. Yeah.
I mean, let's move on and talk about that because we've talked before about Bergatone, and this is the updated version, isn't it? Metabolic Gold. So those of you who love your Bergatone are going to be switching to Metabolic Gold and getting even more benefit. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's an evolution from the Bergamot. It's a step up in strength. It's up to 40% strength now, and we've added the artichoke in there because of the sugar element, because they're almost like twins. The sugar and fat are culprits to a lot of stuff, a lot of problems. Metabolic syndrome, which is that kind of broader umbrella of conditions, which is high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, stroke, heart attacks. Cognitive function is affected by that as well. So I wanted to bring in the sugar element to the cholesterol element that was in the Bergamot and very effective. So the two together actually are very synergistic because actually cholesterol feeds off sugar. So when you have too much sugar in your system and you're not controlling it, then what happens, it forces the body to produce too much of the bad cholesterol, LDL, and not enough of the good cholesterol, HDL. And what that then does is it forces this accumulation of fat in the places that you don't want it. So fat sticks to the inside of the cardiovascular system, the arteries, and causes all sorts of problems there. It goes to the liver, inside and out the liver. So the liver swells up. It doesn't function as it's supposed to do. So if that's where our energy is coming from, the metabolic system, then it's getting clogged up.
Yeah.
So it's almost like your car engine's kind of drying up, and it's not working because you don't have the lubricant is a bit stiff and it's not flowing. The cogs aren't flowing because of that kind of hardening of that system. So so I think the combination of artichoke, and again, it's a very specific extract of artichoke, so that we've got a wide range, broad spectrum of actives in there. So it's working on multiple levels. Same with the Bergamot. And so the two together are the perfect kind of partners. And we've known that the cholesterol lowering effects of bergamot get better when you combine it with artichoke. So I've done some kind of research on myself and people we know. I always kind of practice on people around me. So sorry, family, but that's
my family get the same. Don't worry.
Yeah, so I think that's the right way to go. Absolutely, I want to see it work. I want to see how I feel with it. What the impact is on the markers.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll go and drill down into the bergamot and the artichoke in just a moment. Before we do that, I should just say just a bit of logistics. You have very kindly given us our 20% off the Liz Loves. And just to be clear, that's across everything on Naked Pharmacy website, not just what we're talking about?
So all the Naked Pharmacy range. Brilliant. Yeah, so obviously the non-Naked Pharmacy products are, it's a bit of an issue with that, but our products absolutely cross the range.
Fantastic. And I use it. I mean, I literally use my discount and hoover up lots of good things. Secondly, I know there's going to be lots of chat when we get into cholesterol, and we will talk about that. A lot of people may be taking statins, for example. I'm personally not a fan, but hey, that's a whole other story. But for those who are, or taking HRT, for example, is there any contraindication here? Is there any reason why you couldn't take this alongside?
No reason at all, and actually I choose ingredients and formulate based on the minimising those potential interactions, because I don't want these to be a problem alongside your prescription drugs. So the great thing about this, it's perfectly fine against whether you take whatever statin you're taking. And actually there's a research trial in the International Journal of Cardiology that shows that if you use the bergamot combination alongside a statin, actually it makes the statin more effective. Wow. And at a lower dose. So the trial showed that they were able to half the dose of rosuvastatin and get a more pronounced effect. So it's interesting that that's doing good. That. And given
so you can kind of wean yourself off a little bit, which in my mind is a beneficial thing. And things like thyroxine medication, anything like that, obviously being a qualified pharmacist, you're well versed in being able to talk about that.
Yeah. And if there's ever any concern, I know Dimple Over the pharmacist is on the line answering questions at the moment. So so we're always here. You can always ask questions, but email, phone, or social, and there's no problem with thyroxine at all. Excellent. So and actually, if you think about it, it's helping relieve the pressure on the system. So actually the drugs should work better. If these products are working as they should, then the drugs should work better. They're enhancing them. So best of both worlds is the model. Yeah.
Brilliant. And it may mean that you never need to start in the first place, which is also very good, preventative. So Metabolic Gold for fat metabolism and sugar metabolism, balanced fat and sugar metabolism, cardiovascular, i.e. heart health, and liver health. We've talked before about fatty liver disease, which is just such a biggie, particularly in the Western world. You're using bergamot. That's an Italian citrus fruit, isn't it?
It is very bitter. Looks a bit like a grapefruit. Starts out green, then suddenly goes sort of a yellow colour. So you would probably not see them in the supermarket because they're expensive and hard to find.
Taste very nice.
Don't taste very nice. And just the point is that we do say you can open these capsules, but for this particular one, because of the bergamot, mix it with something that's got a flavour, because if it's just plain yogurt, I think you might
you might not enjoy it, but you could pop it into a shake or a smoothie, with some other fruits, couldn't you, if you wanted to. That's really great to know. Actually, I know a lot of people don't like swallowing capsules, but if you can actually tip the powder in, that's really good.
Yeah, we're trying to do that more and more. I mean, the capsule's there as a unit dose, but I think if you can tip them in, and obviously that helps in terms of digestion. And so the bergamot we buy is specifically along the coastline of Calabria, and I believe you do know Italy very well. So have you been to Italy? In that region?
I was there very recently. I had to hop over and do some family stuff. My ex-husband's half Italian. We got a family home there. I've probably been to Italy every year for, I don't know, the last 30 years or more. So usually in the centre around Umbria, Tuscany, but I love the coast. I mean, it's just such a great place. And Amalfi, where they grow all the lemons and the other citrus fruits. Yeah.
So that foot of the coastline where we get our bergamot is quite a channel for weather. So
Right.
obviously you've got right next to the sea. There's a lot of weather comes through that channel between Italy and Sicily. And actually when we've looked at the polyphenolic content of bergamots further north, the polyphenolics go down quite considerably. So
Really?
where you source the ingredients from is really important, because
Yeah.
to get to 40% is quite difficult.
Yeah. I mean,
Challenging.
I can see on here, you know, this says 40% strength polyphenols, and we know that they're so good for overall health and cardiovascular. It's why, you know, olive oil, for example, is so good, and some of the Greek olive oil that promotes itself as being high in polyphenols, the
Yeah.
polyphenolic high olive oil is just so incredibly healthy.
Yeah. As a chemist and a pharmacist, I love polyphenolics. They're
Right?
really interesting compounds because they're quite reactive. So you have this ring structure that enables the side arm to attach itself and interact with enzymes, with receptors. So it's a very social natural
Is it?
chemical, polyphenolic. It
Yeah.
likes to party, likes to get
Likes the
around, it likes to
party.
interact.
Great. We
So
love that.
yeah, so it makes sense. It's Italian,
Yeah, yeah, for
I think. So
sure.
yeah, so
And so
so
what's it doing? What's the bergamot actually doing, the extract that you've got in here?
so those polyphenolics, there's four main ones, are that sort of orchestra I've talked about, and that's interacting with the way the liver is processing fat, perhaps similar but not the same as a statin, because it doesn't deplete CoQ10. So you do get quite a significant reduction in bad cholesterol. But the other thing is it binds the bad fats in the gut. And so it changes that enzymatic digestion process of your food. Doesn't mean to say that you can go out and kind of have loads of carbs and what have you and still carry on. So it's good to change your diet.
Sure.
But that dynamic in the gut's quite important alongside the effect in the liver. So that drops the LDL, increases the HDL. And your total number is the one you tend to know, which is, you know, tends to be between, I don't know, 4.5, 5.5. So you would want to see that drop below 5.5 ideally. I mean, some people are up to 7 or 8. So ideally,
and you track that, you know that this will help reduce that.
Yeah, and that's what the research has shown. So you know, the trials of 100, 200 people, and they're tracking these markers.
How long would you need to see to drop this?
Most of the studies are 2 to 3 months. So I think there was the rosuvastatin study was slightly longer, and I think the fatty liver study was over 4 months. So we normally say to people,
that's a matter of weeks. You know, you're looking 6, 8, 12 weeks. That's not long, is it?
It's pretty. I mean, actually, the metabolic system is actually quite difficult to change. When it gets stuck, you've got to kind of get it started. It's a bit like your car. That's, you know, my old Beetle that needed a bit of a push, and so I think that actually 3 to 4 months is miraculous. And when you see the trial on the fatty liver, there's a scan that shows the liver that's swollen before, and then 4 months later back to its normal shape and size, and it's quite amazing to watch that, and that makes complete sense to me.
Totally. So, and then the artichoke. Now, I'm a fan of artichoke. I don't know if it's the same thing, but I used to take milk thistle or silymarin, particularly when I was drinking, because of it having a protective effect on the liver specifically. Is that the same sort of thing that we're talking about?
So this is globe artichoke. So unfortunately, very difficult to get hold of. Normally, if I do an IGTV, we'll find one local.
They're not around, are they, at the moment? I think we've got to wait
difficult to get hold
longer.
of. So a very long stem, and there's this kind of shape of the green leaves that kind of almost kind of protects the center, and you have to peel these off, and sometimes you'll cut it in half, and you'll see it's kind of almost, it's like a furnace. When you look inside it, it's almost like a furnace. So and actually that makes complete sense. So we're using the leaf, and when you look at the plant, it's very protective of that metabolic center, because the flower and the stamens are all about metabolism. That's the way that Walida taught me to look at plants. So we've talked about saffron and the stamen and the flower, and how that relates, and how close that is to the roots in that plant, so how close it is to the nervous system. So actually this is quite a long stem, and the leaves are right at the top of the stem, quite a big bulbous leaf. So actually the weight of artichoke in here is quite high, I think something like a kilo of artichoke goes into a bottle. I think about 250 bergamots, about a kilo of
What?
artichoke. Yeah.
250 bergamots in a
Yeah.
bottle?
Yes. Yes.
I'm amazed that it doesn't cost like, £250 a bottle. I mean,
It
that's
used to be
astonishing.
higher price, but obviously as we buy more and more
Yeah.
of it, then the cost goes down. So that helps, and we pass that on. So actually, it was, I think, originally at £45, so we dropped it down as we're buying more of it now.
Great.
And actually,
Okay, guys, the more we buy, the cheaper it
yeah,
gets. And we got the
absolutely,
discount, so thank
absolutely.
you.
So so the artichoke is a very protective leaf. And protective of the metabolic system. So actually, nature's again giving you a little hint of what it's doing there. And if you look at the studies, the fasting sugar levels in the blood go down. It has impact not so much as the bergamot on LDL and HDL, so you can see the impact. But actually, in combination, seems to enhance the effects of the bergamot. So I think the sugar element is really important, and particularly people are eating carbs and not realizing that that's getting converted to sugar, and we're getting constant spikes in our blood sugar levels, which then the body has to deal with an insulin surge, and then the insulin drops, and we get that kind of flagging energy levels after that. And actually then we're into insulin resistance, where the body gets tired of producing insulin, and then you're into pre-diabetes and
Absolutely.
diabetes.
So what about those who are pre-diabetic or have type 2 diabetes? Would this be helpful?
Absolutely. So, and again, alongside your medication, no problem at all. And I would like to see you kind of taking a marker of your blood sugar and your cholesterol at the start, and then 3 or 4 months later, and then kind of reporting that back to us, because we're always fascinated to see how it's affecting different people. And that's really important to us. And we can advise in terms of dose levels and going forward as well, because obviously there's that question about, do I stay on it after 4 months?
Sure. And in terms of weight management, and for those who are overweight, who actually are carrying a bit too much fat, more than a healthy weight, what would your recommendation be there?
Well, obviously, this alongside the gut love, the probiotic, the two in combination are resetting your digestive metabolic systems, and we know that actually just exercise on its own is not going to lose your weight. You've got to reset your system and look at the way you're eating, what time you're eating,
90% is on your plate. That's what Michael Gary, who's a great personal trainer, he said, I'd love to be able to tell you that you could run it all off, but you just can't. No. What's on your plate?
No. And the sequence of your food as well. So if you can have green vegetables or salads before your carbs, then that drops the sugar. Just simple things like that have an enormous impact. Doesn't mean to have to say you have to stop eating your pasta, but just think about the sequence of the foods that you're having.
Which is so interesting. I spend a lot of time in Italy, as we've talked about, and they live on pasta and rice and their risottos, and they often have 3 courses. When I was there recently, it was like, have your first course, then your pasta, and then your main course. It's like, flipping heck, that's an awful lot of food. But because that first course, those little appetizers, are veggie based, you might have some, I don't know, grilled vegetables, grilled courgettes, peppers, that kind of thing. And then you have your carbs, your pasta. Doesn't seem to affect them, and you don't see huge numbers, or at least you didn't, certainly before the rise of fast food, of massively overweight continentals for that reason. Same with the French, they start every meal with like a green salad.
And if you look at some of the data on people that live the longest and healthiest lives, I mean, so a lot of them are the Italians, and in Sicily, I think there are plenty of 100+ year olds, and they've had this diet for a long time. So it's got to be. Actually, I like the fact that it's a sort of Mediterranean diet squeezed into a capsule like this.
Squeezed into a capsule. What about then alcohol protection? So, asking for a friend here, were one to go out and have a little bit too much, Chardonnay or whatever, is the artichoke going to have a protective effect?
To be honest, no. If I'm honest about it, no.
I love your honesty. Okay. There's no excuse. It's not a pink ticket then. You can't use that.
I'd like to say yes, and but I think your milk thistle in terms of data, I think it's much more.
Is milk thistle different from artichoke then?
Absolutely.
It's a different,
Yeah.
interesting,
Yeah,
different
completely.
botanical. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Uh,
So tell us who this is going to be for. So, we've covered cardiovascular disease, people on statins, diabetes, high blood pressure, fatty liver, weight management. Who in particular do you think would really benefit, and what sort of age?
Well, age is really interesting because I think people associate kind of fatty liver with over 50s, over 60s. Actually, that's not the case. I think these things are starting much earlier in terms of diet and lifestyle. So I think anybody 30 plus should be looking at this all the way up. And if you have issues with controlling your sugar, if you have that sugar craving in stressful situations, you're going straight to that, and I'm as guilty as that as you are, and everybody else is.
Human nature, come on.
Absolutely. And we associate it with human comfort as well. So whatever we had as a child, we remember that and we go back to that. And so if you have that kind of sense of you're pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetes, type 1 is different, so that would need a call to us to advise. If you've got high cholesterol, particularly LDL, total cholesterol is above 5.5 or getting that way. If you've got that high belly fat that sits just below the rib cage, that's obviously in and around the liver, and obviously the pancreas on the other side. So you'd want to try and deal with that. And so it's not necessarily about weight. It's more about the distribution of fat and the way that we process fat. And everybody has their own natural weight. So I think if we just focus on weight, I think it's the wrong approach.
It can be the wrong metric, can't it? And what about men as well? This is primarily a female audience, but is this for both men and women?
Absolutely. I take my Metabolic Gold and family history of high cholesterol and some cardiovascular conditions. So, I'm starting to make sure it doesn't snowball to that problem. And I think equally,
but what about later on in life? I'm thinking of my parents. My father's on heart medication. He's 85. Is it too late to start?
I think the body is amazing. The way, you talk about this thing, better second half, and what have you. And I think we have to get out of this mindset that we've been brought up with, which is all you've got to look forward to is you're going to have creaky joints and all this sort of stuff. Actually, if you do the right things now, at whatever age, you can reset. It's a little bit slower, so you might be on them longer. But actually, no reason if you're in your 80s. My father and my mum, both in their mid-80s, are taking their capsules, and I make sure they keep them topped up.
I'm going to do the same. I'm going to do the same. My parents now, their kitchen shelf is kind of expanding. I've got them on lion's mane now for Alzheimer's.
Brilliant.
And omega-3s, that was a while ago. All these little things, prepped in, lots more vitamin D. And actually they are doing super well. They walk everywhere. They're, touch wood, they're really happy, strong. Their doctors are really happy with all their bloods and everything. So, what's not to lose really, other than a bit of ill health? Let's gather some more vitality in older age.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to see them enjoying life, and it also empowers you to feel as if you're doing something for them.
And I feel that I'm actively looking after them, on the days that we're not together. And also selfishly, I want them to be self-sufficient for as long as possible.
Of course.
I don't want them to have to need extra care or extra help, and they they have a real joyful life, which is just such a blessing. And I guess I'm thinking about it now, as I step into a new decade, I'm thinking, right, how do I get the best out of life, for myself, but also so my kids don't have to worry about me later.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you just got to keep saying, well, actually there are solutions out there in nature. Just make sure you've got the right ingredients at the right strength, formulated the right way, and if you're taking those regularly, then they do have an impact.
Chances are they will make a difference, and that's what we love about you, and that's what we love about the Naked Pharmacy, is that it's evidence-based. It is the right formulations, at the right strength, the right potency, the best ingredients, you use good quality ingredients, you check the data, people can expect to see genuine results. And I know that a lot of what we talk about is not necessarily the cheapest, but I always talk about price versus value. You know, the cheapest is not necessarily the best value. The best value is the product that actually works and delivers. You can spend a little bit of money on stuff that actually has no effect. What's the point? You know?
Yeah,
So,
and I like the fact that they're alive, so they're naturally sourced. They're not synthetic. We don't have any synthetics in there whatsoever.
amazing.
You know, there's a time and place for synthetics for us. Our philosophy is that we're tuned into nature. We want everything that nature can give to us, and actually, it's harder. You know, I can go and visit Calabria. I've been to the factory. I've been to the growing areas, and I do that for every ingredient generally. And it's actually harder to do that for a synthetic than it is for a natural, which doesn't really make much sense. But actually, a lot of these synthetics are coming from quite far away, difficult to
from China, you know, big factories, industrial.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the data coming, the certificates of analysis sometimes are a little bit hit and miss. And I didn't want to take that risk with customers. I take these myself, and I just also from an environmental point of view, actually, we're not putting back synthetics as we process them in the diet, and it comes out in our urine and our feces and whatever, and that goes into the ecology. So from my perspective, we don't think about this, but actually it's a huge issue in the pharma industry that, you know,
interesting.
We've got fish that have got, you know, antidepressants, SSRIs, but in their flesh, because it's going through the system. You think about how many millions of people are metabolizing these drugs, and they're going out. I say I'm not anti-drugs, but we have to understand the wider implications of stuff. And if there is a natural solution, then it's much better.
Think about that. If we can stop polluting our waterways with drug residues coming from our bodies, we all benefit. Oh my gosh, Kevin, you've just thrown an absolute bomb into the conversation. I love it, and we're going to have to go, but it's such a joy to talk to you, seriously. And we will be saving this chat, so if anybody's joined late, please, we'll be uploading it shortly, and go back and watch from the beginning, because it's completely fascinating. Love everything that you're doing. Thank you for our discount. We really appreciate it. Best of luck with Metabolic Gold.
Thank you.
It's a lovely update.
Bless you.
Thank you for moving it forward always. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, gosh. Wow. Oh, my goodness. So much to think about. Wasn't that so fantastic? So, yeah, nice update. Metabolic Gold, that's going to be added to my list, and certainly for my parents as well. Use your Liz Loves to get 20% off, and that's everything at Naked Pharmacy. Super grateful for that. Just before I go, just to say there's another 20% off, which is super useful. I went into the park this morning with my youngest, and I sat on the grass. We loved it. We grounded, a little bit of earthing, but I came back with, guess what? Yes, an insect bite. It's like those critters, they're out there. So reaching for my alfresco. I love this so much. Honestly, I love this. I want to buy shares in these guys. I think they're so great. This is a natural insect repellent that smells so good. It's like a beautiful perfume, and it's clinically proven, hospital of tropical diseases tested, to keep mosquitoes and biting insects, midges away. So you can use body lotion all over. You know, if you're going out now with bare legs, pop a bit of body lotion on, you're not going to get bitten. This is a really lovely one. This is the little mini ones that I keep in my handbag. This is the alfresco spray, and it smells a bit like a lovely, really expensive eau de cologne. And then I often step it up with this in the evening. This one is called Planet. And actually, I'm put a little bit on now, actually, because I just love the smell so much. It's kind of just smells like a really, it's just a really lovely, herby, slightly sort of warm, sensual smell. I love it, honestly. When I wear this, I get compliments on my fragrance. And I have to say, do you know, it's actually an insect spray. Anyway, enough about that. But alfrescoshop.com, that's where you can go and find it. Seriously, get ahead of the game. Don't let these critters bite you. Use your Liz Loves and you get 20% off Alfresco Shop. And then just to say, lots and lots of chat about Decipher. Wasn't that so interesting? I'm wearing it today. It's literally all I've got on my face. You can't actually see where it stops and my skin begins. And that's because you upload 3 simple photos of yourself taken in daylight with no makeup on, and they exactly match your skin tone. Whatever skin tone you are, anything in the world, literally, they will match it identically. It's brilliant. And then you choose your coverage, sheer, radiant, bit more coverage. This one is the sheer that I'm wearing. But I went on yesterday, or the day before yesterday, after our chat with the founder, and ordered my drops, because she said that they also have tinted drops, exactly colour matched to you, that you can pop in with a little bit of sun cream or a little bit of foundation, make some tinted moisturiser. And I'm absolutely looking forward to my drops arriving. So my order has gone in. I used my Liz Loves code, but if you want to do that, you're going to have to be quick, because the Liz Loves code expires in a week. So we've got it until the 6th of June. Who can believe it's the 1st of June already? My gosh, nearly halfway through the year. But if you want to use your decipher, then we'll pop a link in the caption. But you've got a week if you're watching this in real time. Okay, that is it for today. Tomorrow being Friday, if you're watching me in real time, you will have access to the brand new podcast episode. It's brilliant. It's all about anger management with James Earle, who writes for the magazine. He is such a legend. James Earle, no relation, genius guy. And that is coming out tomorrow. And also the newsletter. It's the free weekly newsletter from LizEarleWellbeing.com. That comes out tea time on a Friday. If you want the Liz Loves newsletter, go onto the website and sign up for that. That comes out on a Tuesday or Wednesday. And that is where you find all the discount codes. But it's a separate newsletter. And GDPR being what it is, you have to sign up to both. We can't just send you one and get both of them. You have to sign up for both. So if you'd like the Liz Loves newsletter, which is really worth having because that's got all those money-saving coupon codes and all of that, then do go and sign up for that separately. That is it for today. I will be back with you on Tuesday, and we are chatting about antioxidants to protect the skin. We're talking about free radical cell damage and skin aging. Really interesting chat, and we're going to be joined by the lovely female founder, Rachel from By Sarah, which is one of our favourite British beauty brands. Anyway, thank you for being with me today. Thanks for all your kind comments. Lovely to see you. Sending lots of hearts back to you, and see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.